Why do you keep staring at me, human? I was stunned by the alien woman's reaction. Elias Mercer had never seen anything like Sirius. 5. The moment his small human shuttle pierced the planet's atmosphere, the sky shimmered in colors he could barely name. Greens that glowed like emeralds, purples like soft velvet, and a faint silver mist that clung to the floating towers of the spaceport. From above, the city seemed alive, like a gigantic breathing machine, humming with energy. Aliens of every shape and size moved through the air in floating platforms, zip lines, and what appeared to be controlled bursts of anti-gravity. Elias grinned despite himself. This was exactly why he had left Earth's quiet colonies behind, to see the impossible, to touch the edge of what humanity did not yet understand. He landed his shuttle in one of the designated human bays, carefully following the docking protocols the spaceport authorities had sent ahead. Despite the smooth arrival, Elias could feel the curious eyes on him. Not many humans had ever stepped foot on Sirius. 5. And it showed. Relax, Mercer, he muttered to himself, adjusting the straps on his shoulder pack. Just another day among the stars. The moment he stepped onto the platform, a wave of alien scents hit him, metallic, floral, and something that smelled faintly like warm rain. He blinked. The platform beneath his boots shimmered faintly, almost alive, like it could sense each step he took. Every alien he passed seemed to pause for a heartbeat, turning heads to study the human with pale skin, dark hair, and wide brown eyes. Elias could feel the weight of their attention, but kept his gaze forward, careful not to stare. His mission was simple: gather data on alien engineering techniques and understand their energy grids. Simple. That is, until he wandered into a hallway labeled in a script he could not decipher. He stopped, consulting the holographic map in his wrist pad. The path ahead was marked restricted, authorized personnel only. A thrill of curiosity rose in him. Maybe just a peek, he whispered, stepping forward. The walls here were alive with faint luminescent patterns, moving like liquid, as if the building itself breathed. A soft hum resonated through the air, vibrating slightly in his chest. He moved carefully, observing small panels with alien symbols and strange devices humming quietly. Then he saw her. She stood at the far end of the corridor, her tall, elegant frame illuminated by a soft blue glow from the wall. Her skin was a pearlescent shade that seemed to reflect light like liquid silver. She had no hair, but her head shimmered with subtle ridges that hinted at her intelligence. Her eyes were large, opalescent, and filled with a kind of curiosity that made Elias's chest tighten. She noticed him immediately. "Why do you keep staring at me, human?" she demanded. Her voice was melodic, but there was a sharpness in it that made him freeze. Elias stumbled over his words. I wasn't staring. He gestured awkwardly at the glowing panels. "I'm new here." She tilted her head, and the air seemed to shift around her. "You are human," she said, more a statement than a question. "We do not often encounter humans here." I know," Elias said, trying to sound calm. "I am Elias Mercer, human, engineer, researcher. I'm just trying to understand your technology." She narrowed her eyes, or, at least, that was the closest Elias could describe her expression. She stepped closer, and he noticed the faint hum of energy around her, like the air itself bent toward her presence. "Your species is unusual," she said. "You walk differently. You hold your eyes differently. And you linger." Elias swallowed hard, realizing that she wasn't angry. Not exactly. Her words weren't a threat. They were fascination, and yet her gaze made him feel exposed, like a specimen under study. I apologize," he said carefully. "I did not mean to linger. I am just curious. That's all." Her shoulders relaxed slightly. "Curiosity is rare," she said. Her tone softened just enough to make him think she might be smiling. Most beings avoid the unknown. Elias blinked. "So, you are not upset?" "I am intrigued," she said simply. "Come closer, human. Let me observe you more clearly." Elias froze. This was unexpected. In every story he had heard about first contact, humans either scared aliens or were ignored. Being invited to be observed, that was something entirely new. Okay, he said, stepping cautiously toward her. He noticed small sensors floating around her in soft orbits, pulsing with light. They weren't weapons. They were tools. Maybe scanners. His heart raced. "Do not fear," she said, reading his tension. "We do not harm those who show respect, but your species, you think in ways we cannot easily understand." Elias felt a flicker of pride. "Well, humans have always had to find clever solutions," he said. "We adapt quickly, we observe, we improvise." He trailed off, realizing he sounded like he was bragging. "No," she said softly, "you do not brag. You simply act. That is unusual. Admirable." For a long moment, neither spoke. Elias found himself studying her in return. The light reflecting off her skin made her seem ethereal, almost like a vision. Yet her eyes held intelligence, humor, and, he realized with a start, trust. A being that had never seen a human before was trusting him. Finally, she spoke again. "You will join me. We will walk. You will show me your way." Elias blinked. "My way?" "Yes," she said. "Humans do not act like other species. You are unpredictable, but in your unpredictability, you find solutions." "Show me this." Elias hesitated only for a moment before nodding. This could be dangerous. Walking with a high-ranking alien on restricted grounds could be a diplomatic disaster if mishandled. But it was also an opportunity. As they moved through the corridors, Elias noticed how she watched him closely, not just his movements, but the way he thought. She seemed to study his hesitation before pressing buttons, the way he tilted his head when reading holographic displays, even the way he breathed when he considered a solution. "You are human," she said again, almost in awe. "Your species. You are different. You think in patterns, yet you bend them." "I guess that's one way to put it," Elias said, a little self-conscious, like to explore, experiment. "Sometimes we fail. But sometimes we succeed in ways no one expects." She paused near a large window overlooking the city. Below, floating vehicles wove in complex patterns, like schools of glowing fish. "This world, it is orderly," she said. "Your species, you bring chaos, yet your chaos solves things." Elias smiled, feeling the human pride swelling inside him. "Sometimes chaos is the only way to find a new path," he said. She regarded him silently, then, without warning, turned and began moving along a side corridor. Elias followed, careful not to fall behind. He noticed her sensors scanning his actions constantly, recording, analyzing, learning. He felt like he was part of an experiment, yet the feeling was oddly flattering. Eventually, they reached a hall filled with complex machinery, glowing softly with energy. Panels displayed streams of symbols he could not read, pulsing in patterns almost like music. "This," she said, gesturing toward the room, "is where we shape energy. You will observe, human. Tell me, how do you perceive it?" Elias stepped forward, intrigued. The machinery was unlike anything he had ever seen. No moving parts, only flowing light and energy currents that twisted in 3 dimensions. He held out a hand, careful not to touch, and felt a hum in the air, vibrating in response to his presence. "It's alive," he said finally. "Not alive like a creature, but it responds to thought and intent, almost like it knows what you want it to do." She regarded him with her luminous eyes. "You understand faster than I expected. Most beings here, they see patterns but cannot feel them. You sense them instinctively." Elias's chest swelled with pride again. "Humans are like that," he said simply. "We notice, we adapt. We try to understand before we act." A soft, melodic hum passed through the room, and he realized it came from her. It wasn't speech. It was a vibration of emotion. Joy? Approval? He wasn't sure, but he felt it as warmth in his chest. "You, human, you are remarkable," she whispered. "Why have I not seen your species before?" "Because we are far," he said. But we are curious. That is why I came here. She tilted her head. Curiosity, it is powerful and dangerous. Elias laughed softly. Sometimes, but it is what drives us forward. It is how humans survive. For a moment, the corridor was silent, except for the hum of energy machines. Then she spoke again, her voice quieter but carrying weight. You will remain here with me. Observe, human. Show me your mind. I want to understand. Elias realized that he had just entered an entirely new world, not through force, not through diplomacy, but through curiosity and respect. The alien woman had not been threatened by him. She had been intrigued. And more than that, she had invited him into her world. As they walked deeper into the hall, Elias could feel the thrill of discovery coursing through him. This was what he had come for. Not fame, not recognition, but the chance to show what humans could do, and perhaps to change how an entire alien species saw them. Liari glanced at him again, her luminous eyes locking onto his. Human, why do you persist? I don't know, Elias said honestly. I guess it's just who we are. We want to understand. We want to see. We want to know. For the first time, she seemed to smile. Then, perhaps, your species has a place here after all. And in that moment, Elias Mercer realized that being human, curious, bold, and a little unpredictable was more powerful than he had ever imagined. Elias Mercer had never worked with an alien like Liari before. Since his first encounter in the glowing corridors of the restricted hall, he had been swept along a path that was as exhilarating as it was bewildering. Liari, the tall, luminous alien woman, had not only allowed him into her inner world, but seemed genuinely fascinated by the way his human mind worked. And that, Elias realized, was a rare gift in a universe where humans were often underestimated or ignored. The room they had entered the day after his first meeting was enormous. The walls shimmered with energy panels, flowing streams of light that twisted and turned in intricate patterns, almost like a river frozen in motion. Elias had never seen technology that looked so alive. His first instinct was to touch it, to feel its vibration, but he restrained himself, remembering the lessons of first contact. Respect and observation were the first tools of survival. Liari moved through the room with grace, her sensors orbiting her like tiny moons. She spoke occasionally, not in words, but in melodic pulses that the translator wristpad converted into speech. Human, observe and describe. Elias stepped closer to a flowing energy conduit. It feels like it responds to intent, he said. If I focus here, the stream bends slightly. If I relax, it spreads again, almost like it's listening. Or watching. Liari's eyes, wide and opalescent, flickered with what he interpreted as approval. Yes, that is correct. Most beings only see patterns. You feel them. Elias smiled, remembering his early days on Earth, tinkering with broken machines, sensing their needs, understanding their quirks without knowing why. Humans had always had that ability to perceive problems intuitively and find creative solutions. Then show me your way, Liari said. Demonstrate how your species adapts. Elias hesitated, glancing around. Some of the machinery was delicate, pulsing with energy he did not yet understand. Mistakes could be catastrophic. But he reminded himself, humans were defined by curiosity, experimentation, and courage. He placed his hands near a control panel, letting his intuition guide him. The lights shifted in response. A complex array of symbols moved across a floating display, reacting unpredictably. Elias frowned. To an alien, the pattern seemed chaotic. But in his mind, he saw possibilities. Interesting, Liari whispered. Your mind, it does not follow linear paths. You explore tangents, seek alternatives, test possibilities we do not consider. Elias realized that she was observing him, not just for results, but for method. Every motion, every hesitation, every small adjustment was a test, a study of human thinking. Humans solve problems differently, he said. We don't just analyze, we imagine, guess, and try until something works. Sometimes it's messy, but it's effective. Liari tilted her head. Messy, yet effective. You trust intuition more than calculation? Yes, Elias said. Sometimes calculation alone is not enough. You need instinct. You need creativity. Liari's sensors pulsed brighter. Creativity that is rare here. Most species rely on pattern recognition, algorithms, repetition. Humans, you surprise. You endure. Elias laughed softly. Endurance is part of being human. We survive because we adapt, not because we are perfect. For hours, Elias and Liari moved through the hall, touching panels, adjusting conduits, observing the flow of energy. Elias's human instincts allowed him to see solutions and patterns that aliens would never consider. At one point, he noticed a minor fluctuation in one of the conduits, a tiny misalignment that could have caused a system collapse. He adjusted it instinctively. Liari's sensors brightened in response, and for the first time, she spoke clearly in words instead of translated pulses. You prevented failure without instruction. Remarkable, Elias shrugged. Humans notice things. We pay attention. Liari regarded him quietly, then leaned closer, her eyes shimmering. Your species, you are fragile in form but strong in mind. You surprise me. The alien world outside the hall moved on without pause. Floating vehicles zipped past, and the distant hum of city energy filled the air. But inside this room, time seemed to stretch and bend. Elias had never felt such intensity of observation. Yet it was not pressure. It was admiration, curiosity, fascination. Then came the first real challenge. Liari guided him to a complex panel of floating orbs, each pulsing with energy in intricate sequences. Solve this? She said simply. The pattern is unstable. It has resisted the analysis of many. Show me how humans approach it. Elias stared at the pattern. The orbs rotated, lights flashing, sequences repeating but never aligning. Aliens would study it, analyze the exact timing, then adjust. He closed his eyes for a moment and let instinct guide him. Slowly, he began moving his hands, touching symbols, nudging sequences. He tried something that would have seemed reckless to any alien mind, combining steps in a way that broke the expected sequence entirely. The lights flickered, the orbs wobbled, but then, with a sudden harmony, the sequence stabilized. Elias opened his eyes to see Liari staring in astonishment. You did not follow the rules, yet you solved it. I don't know the rules, Elias admitted with a grin. I just tried what made sense to me. Her melodic hum filled the room, and Elias realized it was laughter, soft, delighted, approving. You, humans, you think differently. You create solutions from chaos. The council that had been observing silently through the room's sensors now spoke in whispers. Elias could hear fragments. Ingenious, unpredictable, clever, human mind. Liari turned to him. Tell me, human, do you always think this way? Elias shrugged. I think the way we have to. We survive by noticing things others ignore. We adapt by experimenting, by trying. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we always try. Her eyes shimmered with admiration. Your species, I underestimated you. I see now why you endure. Elias felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for humanity. So often, humans were seen as weak or fragile. But here, on an alien world, a being far older, far wiser, recognized their strength. As they moved to another section, Liari's sensors floated closer to him, scanning every movement. Your persistence is curious. You do not fear the unknown. You approach it boldly. Why? Curiosity, Elias said simply, and maybe a little stubbornness. Humans want to understand the world. We want to know. We don't stop. She studied him for a long moment, boldness without aggression. That is unusual, admirable. Elias laughed quietly. I guess humans like to explore. Sometimes we surprise ourselves too. For the first time, Liari allowed herself a relaxed gesture. She extended a hand, and Elias hesitated for a moment before taking it. Her grip was soft, almost liquid in texture, yet firm in intent. Then, stay with me, human. Learn our ways. Teach me yours. Perhaps your species can show the universe something new. This was more than first contact. This was a chance for humans to be seen, to show that they were clever, adaptable, and capable in ways no alien had imagined. And more than that, he realized that this alien woman, Liari, was not testing him for fear of threat, but for admiration, curiosity, and genuine interest. Hours passed. They moved from room to room, each with new challenges, new patterns, and new tests. Some were mechanical, some were purely observational. Elias found himself solving problems in ways that the aliens around them did not understand. Some solutions seemed reckless to them, chaotic, yet they worked flawlessly. At one point, he paused to drink water from his small canister, noting how Yari observed even this mundane act. Hydration is necessary, he explained. Humans need energy to function. Our bodies require it. Liari's sensors pulse softly. Even this, you teach me. Small acts, meaningful. Elias smiled. Everything matters. Humans notice details. Quote, finally, as the glowing twin suns of Sirius, 5 began to set, casting the city in purple and gold light, Liari stopped. She floated to the center of the room, watching him with those wide, opalescent eyes. Human, you adapt. You endure. You create solutions where others see only failure. I am impressed. I just do what comes naturally, Elias said, feeling the weight of admiration, pride, and responsibility all at once. I guess that's human nature. She studied him for a long moment, then gave a soft hum that felt like laughter. Perhaps your species is ready for more. We have underestimated humans for too long. Your mind is unusual. Your ways unpredictable, yet effective. Elias nodded. We're not perfect, but we survive. We adapt. We learn, and we keep going. Liari's sensors pulsed once, twice. Then she said, then tomorrow you will meet others. The council wishes to see your methods. They doubt you, and yet they will not ignore your success. Prepare, human. Your species may change the way we see the galaxy. Elias felt a thrill of anticipation and a small flicker of fear. Meeting the council could be dangerous, but he also knew something vital. Humans had always thrived in moments like this. By observing, adapting, and thinking differently, they had a chance to show their true value. As he left the hall, the city outside glittered with lights, aliens moving in harmonious chaos. And Elias Mercer realized with a small smile that the galaxy had just begun to notice humans, and that perhaps, just perhaps, humans were capable of more than anyone had imagined. The next morning, Elias Mercer awoke in the small guest chamber assigned to him by Liari. The walls pulsed with gentle light, matching the rhythm of his own heartbeat, or so it seemed. He sat on the edge of the bed, stretching and rubbing his eyes. Today was not just another day of observation. Today, he would stand before the council, a group of the most intelligent and influential aliens on Sirius. 5. Elias had already proven himself to Liari, but now the stakes were higher. If he could impress her council, humans would be seen in a new light across this alien world, and perhaps, he realized, across the galaxy itself. He glanced around the chamber, noticing the subtle details. Small energy conduits that pulsed in harmony with the room, panels displaying streams of symbols he could not read. Humans had never lived in such technology, and yet he felt calm. Curiosity, he reminded himself, was the best weapon a human had. Curiosity and ingenuity. Liari arrived silently, her sensors orbiting like soft points of light. Human, she said, her melodic voice carrying both amusement and seriousness. The council awaits. Today, they will doubt you. Today, they will challenge you. But your mind may surprise them. I'll do my best, Elias said simply, trying to mask the nervous excitement rising in his chest. You do not need to impress them, she said, tilting her head. You only need to show them what humans do best. Adapt, observe, solve. Your species thrives where others falter. He nodded. Then let's go. The journey to the council chambers was unlike anything Elias had experienced. The corridors twisted and turned in impossible angles, some seeming to bend space itself. Aliens moved past them in silent glides, their forms elegant and strange, their attention divided between him and Yari. He could feel the curiosity and perhaps skepticism radiating from them. Humans were rare here, and every being wanted to see what he would do. Finally, they arrived at a massive chamber that stretched higher than the eye could see. Panels of flowing light covered the walls, and dozens of floating orbs hovered in precise formations. In the center of the room sat the council. 7 aliens of various shapes, each radiating quiet authority. Their forms were strange, some humanoid, others abstract, their eyes shimmering in ways Elias had never seen. Lyari led him to the center of the chamber. "Council," she announced, "this human demonstrates methods unlike any we have seen. Observe him and learn from his species." The council fell silent. One of the members, tall and angular, spoke first. "Human," it said, voice like a ripple of water. "You claim your mind works differently? We have heard of your species' curiosity. Show us." "Solve this." A large floating construct hovered in front of him. It was a complex array of shifting lights, orbs, and panels. The pattern twisted and turned, moving unpredictably. Aliens had tried to stabilize it for cycles, hours, even days, without success. Elias studied it carefully. He did not panic. Instead, he breathed deeply, observing, letting instinct and curiosity guide him. "All right," he murmured. He reached out and began to interact with the construct. His fingers moved confidently over the panels, adjusting sequences in ways that seemed illogical to the council. He broke patterns the aliens would never dare touch, combining steps that were chaotic to them. Yet he trusted his human intuition. The council murmured among themselves, sensors glowing in surprise. One of them whispered, "He does not follow protocol, yet he acts with purpose." Elias continued, letting his mind flow like the energy streams he had observed the day before. He noticed subtle fluctuations in the construct, tiny deviations that the aliens had overlooked. He adjusted them, allowing the system to find balance naturally, rather than forcing it to obey rigid rules. Minutes passed. Then, slowly, the construct stabilized. The orbs aligned, the lights harmonized, and the floating panels began to flow in perfect synchronicity. Elias stepped back, breathing lightly. The council fell silent, their eyes wide. Liari's sensors pulsed with delight. "Human, you succeeded," she said softly. "I just tried to see what made sense," Elias said. "I didn't follow rules. I followed intuition." The angular council member leaned forward. "You act without fear of failure. You take risks, yet your results are correct. Explain yourself." Elias swallowed, choosing his words carefully. "Humans notice things others miss. We adapt. We experiment. We fail, but we learn. We don't stop. And sometimes the solution comes from trying what others avoid." A low hum of approval passed through the chamber. Liari's eyes shone. "You see, Council, this is human ingenuity. Not aggression, not domination. Curiosity, observation, adaptation. That is our gift." Another council member, whose form resembled a cluster of flowing light, spoke. "Unorthodox yet functional. Your mind, it bends patterns without breaking them. Humans, perhaps your species has potential beyond what we imagined." Elias nodded. "We always have. That's why we explore, why we learn, why we endure." Liari floated closer. "Human, your species is underestimated because you are different. Today, you have shown that difference can be strength. Adaptability can be power. Curiosity can be influence." Elias felt a warmth in his chest. Humans had always survived by thinking differently, by adapting, by using creativity in ways others did not. Here, on an alien world, that same trait had earned respect. The council continued their questions, testing him with hypothetical problems, theoretical constructs, and abstract energy patterns. Each time, Elias solved them using human methods, observation, experimentation, and bold creativity. The aliens were astonished. They had never encountered a mind that approached challenges this way. "You do not fear the unknown," one member said. "You embrace it. You understand it intuitively." "Why?" "Curiosity," Elias replied simply, "and maybe courage. Humans survive by trying, by noticing, by never stopping. Liari's sensors pulsed brightly, and for the first time, she laughed, a melodic, joyful sound. Human, you have impressed not just me, but them. You show that humans are different. And that difference can change everything. Hours passed. Elias's human persistence, observation, and ingenuity had left the council in awe. They whispered, they adjusted their own perceptions, and they began to see humans not as fragile, weak beings, but as clever, resourceful, and unpredictable in ways that could be powerful for the galaxy. Finally, the council fell silent. One of them, the angular member, spoke. Human, you have done what we believed impossible. You see patterns we cannot. You adapt where others fail. You think in ways beyond our comprehension. Elias smiled faintly. I just think like a human. Liari floated beside him, her sensors spinning. And that is enough. Enough to earn respect. Enough to change perception. Enough to prove that humans have a place among us. The chamber pulsed softly as the council concluded their session. Aliens who had doubted him now regarded him with curiosity, admiration, and even cautious respect. Elias realized that, through patience, observation, and simple human ingenuity, he had achieved what few humans had ever done. He had earned the trust and recognition of an alien civilization. Liari turned to him, her eyes gleaming. Tomorrow, you will begin teaching others, not just observing. You will show humans ways, human methods, human logic. And perhaps they will finally see that humans are. Elias nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and anticipation. I hope they learn quickly. You will guide them, Liari said, not by force, but by example. Humans, you are unusual. You endure. You adapt. You create. And now, you will be seen. Elias glanced around the chamber. The city beyond shimmered under Sirius. 5's twin suns, lights glittering like stars brought to Earth. For the first time, he truly understood the power of human traits: curiosity, ingenuity, courage, and resilience. These were not weaknesses. They were strengths that could change minds, influence civilizations, and even shift the galaxy's perception of humanity. And as he left the chamber, he realized something profound. Humans did not need weapons, wealth, or dominance to command respect. They needed only to be themselves, curious, inventive, and fearless in the face of the unknown. Elias Mercer smiled to himself. The galaxy had just begun to notice humans. And he, a single human, had helped start that change. The morning sun of Sirius. 5 glinted against the floating towers, turning the city into a sea of color. Elias Mercer stood at the entrance of the large training hall Liari had prepared for him. Today was different. Today he would not merely demonstrate his skills or solve puzzles. Today he would teach. The council had agreed, albeit cautiously, to observe humans in action, to see if their ways could be shared and understood. Elias took a deep breath, adjusting the simple human uniform he wore. In it, he looked ordinary, but he knew that humans had always been more than they seemed. Curiosity, ingenuity, and a stubborn refusal to give up. That was what defined them. And now, all eyes were on him. Liari arrived silently, her sensors orbiting in their usual luminous pattern. She glanced at him, her eyes glimmering. Today, human, you show them not only what humans can do, but how humans think. You will lead, not follow. Your species deserves to be seen. Elias nodded. I'll do my best, but I need them to follow me, not just watch me. Then they will, Liari said with a soft hum. Trust yourself, human, and trust your species. The hull was enormous, glowing softly with energy that pulsed in rhythm with the planet itself. Aliens of every shape and form stood in neat clusters, their attention focused entirely on him. Some eyes were curious, others skeptical, and a few, Elias suspected, were openly doubting a human could teach them anything at all. He cleared his throat. Good morning, he began, keeping his voice calm. I know many of you think humans are small, fragile, and unremarkable, but today, I want to show you how we solve problems, how we think, and how we adapt. A ripple of whispers passed through the crowd. Some aliens tilted their heads, others blinked slowly, unsure what to expect. Ilias smiled. This was part of the lesson. First, they needed to see humans differently. He gestured to a large floating array of energy orbs. This device has been unstable for cycles. Many of you have tried to stabilize it, following every rule precisely. Today, I want you to see what humans do. We observe, experiment, and sometimes bend the rules to find solutions. He approached the orbs, letting his hands hover above the controls. The energy pulses reacted subtly, like a nervous creature. He guided the aliens to watch carefully. Notice how it moves. Watch patterns, not just rules. See the flows, the small fluctuations. Then, try your own adjustments. One of the younger aliens hesitated. We do not understand your method. That's fine, Elias said calmly. You don't need to understand it yet. Just watch. Try small changes. Observe results. Learn from what happens. He began making minor adjustments, combining steps that the aliens would have considered reckless. The orbs wobbled, flickered, and then gradually settled into perfect harmony. Elias stepped back, letting the alien see. See, he said, smiling. Sometimes strict rules limit your vision. Sometimes you have to experiment, fail, and try again. That is the human way. Liari's sensors glowed with delight. What? Human. They are watching. Learning. The council whispered among themselves, their expressions a mixture of surprise and admiration. Elias could feel the shift. Doubt was giving way to curiosity. Curiosity to respect. He turned to them. Now, you try. Remember, observation first, then experimentation. Do not fear failure. Failure is how humans learn. One by one, the aliens approached, mimicking his gestures. Some were hesitant, some tentative, but all were observing keenly. Elias walked among them, guiding, correcting gently, offering encouragement. He noticed subtle smiles forming on a few faces, a rising sense of confidence. Hours passed. The hall hummed with energy, lights flickering in synchrony as aliens applied the human method. What had once been chaotic or unstable was now flowing harmoniously. The council members who had doubted him initially were leaning forward, studying, whispering among themselves. One council member finally spoke aloud. This human method, it works. It is effective. We underestimated your species. Humans have always adapted. We observe, we experiment, we persist. That is why we survive. That is why we endure. Liari floated beside him, her sensors glowing softly. Human, today you have done more than show skill. You have shown spirit, courage, ingenuity. You teach them not just machines or devices, but ways of thinking. That is rare, even among our species. Elias felt a warmth in his chest. He realized that humans had often been underestimated because they were different, too small, too fragile, but this difference, this unpredictability, was exactly what made them valuable. Thank you, Liari, he said softly. For believing in humans, she regarded him with her luminous eyes. It is not belief alone. It is observation. Humans act boldly yet peacefully. You endure, you adapt. You teach without demanding. That earns respect. Elias smiled. He looked around the hall. The aliens were working together now, following his method, experimenting with adjustments, sharing observations. There was laughter, subtle but unmistakable, and expressions of amazement on faces he had thought skeptical. He realized something important. Humans did not need dominance or weapons to influence others. They needed only curiosity, intelligence, and persistence. Those traits, coupled with respect for others, could change minds, even an entire civilization. After the last adjustment was complete, Elias stepped back. The orbs floated perfectly, energy streams aligned in harmony, and the hall pulsed with quiet approval. Liari's sensors glowed in admiration. Human, you have succeeded. Not by force, not by command, but by teaching, by showing, by example. That is the strength of your species. The council members rose slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement. Elias could see their respect had shifted from skepticism to admiration. The youngest council member, a small luminescent being, approached. "Human, you have shown us something remarkable. Not only skill, but vision, ingenuity. That is human." Elias nodded. "It is what humans do. We see, we learn, we adapt, and we keep trying no matter how impossible the task seems." Liari floated close, her voice soft but firm. "Tomorrow you will return to your shuttle, but know this, human, today you have changed perception. Your species is no longer underestimated here. Humans will be watched with interest, curiosity, and respect." Elias's chest swelled with pride, not just for himself, but for humanity. He thought of Earth, of the countless humans who had explored, survived, and innovated across the stars. They had often been dismissed, ignored, even feared. Yet now, on Sirius 5, humans had begun to earn their place among an alien civilization, not by fighting, not by force, but by thinking differently, by showing ingenuity, by being themselves. He glanced at Liari. "Do you think they'll ever fully understand humans?" She considered him, her luminous eyes reflecting the soft glow of the hall. "Perhaps, or perhaps not fully. But understanding is not required. Respect, curiosity, adaptation, these are enough. You have shown them strength without aggression. That is rare. That is human." Elias laughed quietly. "I hope so. I hope humans continue to surprise them." The Ari's sensors pulsed in soft approval. "They will. And so will you. Your species endures. You adapt. You learn. You create. And now you are seen. That is a beginning." As the session ended, aliens began leaving the hall, chatting among themselves in ways Elias could not fully understand. Yet the energy in the room was palpable. Respect had been earned, curiosity had been inspired, and humans, through one single representative, had changed the perception of an entire alien civilization. Elias followed Liari to the exit. "What now?" he asked. "Now," she said, "you return to your shuttle. But know this, human. Your species has made a mark here. Other species will notice. Humans will be watched, studied, and respected. Your ingenuity, your courage, your curiosity, that is a gift to the universe." Elias smiled. "Then I hope humans continue to give it." Liari's eyes glimmered, and she gave a soft hum of amusement. "They will. And you will continue to inspire. That is your place. That is what humans do best." As he prepared to leave Sirius 5, Elias looked back at the glowing towers, at the aliens who had once doubted him but now looked on with respect, and he realized something profound. Humans did not need to dominate, conquer, or fight to be recognized. Their strength lay in their minds, their curiosity, and their ingenuity. That alone could change civilizations, one step at a time. And as his shuttle lifted into the sky, Elias Mercer smiled. The galaxy had seen humans for the first time, not as fragile beings, but as clever, adaptable, and fearless in thought. And in that moment, he knew this was only the beginning.